Appreciate it. Great, great. So, this is the lovely Evelyn Woodard, photographer, and now I can call a lovely friend. And I suppose over the last couple of weeks, this is called Friday Feels Live. I've been doing this actually for over a year, a long time. I've been using it to come in and give inspiration, and I suppose things that would come up in my own life or in clients' life or the world in general. And I was really drawn to kind of showcase and actually have women on that I've really been inspired by, and also have such a beautiful story to share. And I have had the privilege of anyone that I've asked have said yes, and Ev kindly agreed to come on, and she's a local girl as well, but our paths haven't crossed until recently, over the last couple of years, but it's been a great pleasure to get to know her and get to know her story. So I suppose we're going to have a chat. So I'm going to introduce you, Evelyn. You're well known for being a photographer and being in a lovely couple and a relationship with your husband and taking wedding photographs. That's what I would have known you. But actually, in fact, this year, I suppose, with COVID and everything that has happened, you've pivoted and you've changed yourself slightly, haven't you?
Yeah, I suppose actually it was probably early last year I decided to go more into separating out into my own area of the business. So focusing more on working with women in portraits, and towards the end of last year I started doing a lot more personal branding. So and that's how you and I came into contact with each other, through the giveaway.
Yeah.
You won actually. And it's just working with women one-on-one is a lot more intimate for branding and portraits than it would have been with the weddings, because on the wedding day there's so much going on, so many people around the bride, that you don't always get a lot of luxury time with them. And the market I'm working in now, over 40 primarily, is very much where I am myself, and I connect hugely with that age group. And I'm loving it.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I actually had the privilege, you said I won the photo shoot. It's actually, the picture's just over my shoulder.
Yeah, I could see it actually.
Yeah, and it was lovely because I was nominated, and to be honest, I don't know what I have been. I was thinking of going getting my branding portraits done, but I kept putting it off. And then my name was drawn, and I got that opportunity to get a photograph with you, and it was just such a fabulous experience. I remember sitting in the in your lovely studio, and I remember just having kind of a surreal moment, thinking, am I actually here? You know, and you had your, you know, and there was a lovely, like I was saying to you, it was lovely because I felt I could be really playful again, kind of that like girl or innocent kind of, you know, that like playfulness, like you had lovely props. I remember putting a hat on me. There isn't a hope I would have done that, you know, but I was just so comfortable with you. And actually some of the photographs, a lot of people have commented on the ones with me wearing the hat. It was just such, I remember just sitting there going, oh my God, just take this in, just take this in. And it was such a beautiful experience. You know, that I'm so glad. I remember kind of when I drove away from you afterwards, I actually went up a Haddo and I parked in Haddo looking out at the lovely lakes. And I remember just sitting in my car, just taking it in, because I suppose a lot has changed for me over the last couple of years. I turned 40 last year, and I actually feel like, you know, that midlife and all the questions that come up, that kind of came up for me towards the late 30s, 40s. And I know I've shared with you as well, you know, we always put, like, women are great for putting ourselves last, always, you know, we'll make sure the kids are fine, or that we never question, you know, getting our children photographed for their communion or their confirmation, you know, and even
and then most mothers say, don't bother taking a photograph of me, just get a photograph of the kids. Yeah, that's probably the most common thing you'll ever hear when you do a family portrait, because the mum doesn't want to be seen, or the mum has a problem with her weight, or she thinks something's wrong with her body image, but in 20 years time, every single one of those kids is going to look for the photograph of the mum, and they're not always there. So that would be one thing I would always suggest, especially to younger mothers, because I don't work too much with younger mothers now, but if I ever did a baby portrait session, the mum was always saying, oh, just take a photograph of the baby, whereas I won't leave them out the door without doing the mum and baby, because that's the precious photo.
And it's exactly
the moments and the memories.
Yeah, it is. It really is. And I was like that. I was so glad I did it. But I was like, remember, like, God, you go for the photographs for anything else. But like, actually, to kind of we're even having this conversation before we came on. It's like the lessons I've learned from COVID, and you have, they've certainly been the same. But you know, what was that famous line that you came out with? It's like,
well, it's just stop putting things off.
Yeah.
if anything, I guess, I suppose if I just go back a little bit to when I turned 40, I remember just sitting there thinking, oh my God, this is the magical decade that they all say life begins at 40. And you're thinking, well, how does life begin at 40? And then I think 2 or 3 months later, I found a lump in my breast, and I was thinking, okay, put it off again for a couple of months. And then I finally got it checked and was diagnosed with breast cancer. So I was thinking, okay, life begins at 40. So what's this message for me? And then that led to the last 5 years of a whole healing journey, but also healing loads of other things, which I feel your confidence, your issues with your body, because, you know, we talked about the relationship with breast cancer and body image and self-esteem. So I was just actually saying earlier, I wrote a few notes just to say that COVID as well has made a lot of women contact me and say that they'd love to book in for a portrait session because they've put it off. They put it off for the last 2 years, 5 years. And sometimes we don't always get that opportunity back to take those photographs. And turning 40 does that. There's something about turning 40 for sure that makes women say, you know what is this about? What's this journey about? The kids are getting a bit older, you have a little bit more time back, and they're starting to look at themselves again, and maybe even look at themselves for the first time. And even turning 40, this is a very different experience. Turning 50, any women that I've had in for an experience where they're turning 50 and they want to book a photo shoot, they're in a very different headspace again. And even as I talked to you about the lady who came in who was celebrating her 80th, very same issues that any woman has. She talked about everything that any 30 or 40 or 50-year-old would talk about. And at the end of the day, all she wanted to do was be listened to and to be seen. And I say that a lot in my messages when I put up my images, is to be seen in photographs, because we're not often seen. We don't want to be seen, maybe. There's a lot of that. And I think now is the time that women are stepping forward and they're ready to be seen, especially in Ireland, because there's something about the Irish women being afraid to be seen, whether it's something that we grew up with. And if you compare us to our American cousins or any of the brides I would have photographed from the US, they love being photographed. They're first out in front of the camera, and they're a dream to photograph because they've been brought up encouraged to be seen and to be encouraged to be photographed. So if anything, being photographed as a woman in her 40s or 50s, we're teaching the next generations to not be afraid to be photographed and to be seen.
Yeah, I love that. Like, because even this morning when I was preparing, and thank God preparation worked, this morning with Jenna, I was just, you know, because Kate is 19, and I was saying Jenna has had such a different experience than me as a mom now, and like that's just the way I evolved and grew. But, you know, for her to be able to, the opportunity to let her, you know, she comes in here playing with her dolls, the treatment room, you know, she brings in her cousin when she can, when we're not in whatever level we're on. And it's just lovely to allow, you know, even, you know, I had those actually, and like, I'll be honest, I put them in the hallway and then I brought them into my treatment room, and I have 2 of them and I have decided what I'm going to do with them. But it was just such a lovely thing to bring them into the house and have them there. Whereas, you know, would there have been an aspect of me maybe a couple of years ago where I wouldn't have maybe hidden them or kind of been very shy about them, or would have kind of been asking for validation as well, go, what do I look like in that? Do you think that's a nice one or not? Whereas it was just such a lovely, every time I look at them now, I just remember how I felt, and it was just a lovely feeling. And it was just such a lovely opportunity to kind of pause. And I think I was saying that to you, you know, I'll be happy when, or, you know, I'll do that when, you know, you said,
well, the famous thing for us women is to put it off because they want to lose weight. I did a branding session recently for a lady who, just before lockdown, who had been putting off getting her photograph taken for 5 years because she was losing weight, she was doing this, she was doing that. A lot of the times we never lose the weight. So, and there's nothing wrong with our weight either. It's who are you doing it for? Why is your reason? If it's a health issue, obviously, but you're losing the weight for who, you know? And I think getting to 40 definitely changed that, because I would have criticized so many parts of myself. Like we were mentioning earlier, if you ever see anybody taking a photograph of a group of people, or even if I've ever done a session with this where there's more than one person in the photograph, And then you get the photographs. The first thing you'll see is you look at yourself in the photo. That's the first thing we go to, is how do we look? And then within 20 seconds, we're putting ourselves apart. We're criticizing our weight, what we look like, what we wore, why didn't we do this, why didn't we do that? And I was saying, if the next time you see a photograph of yourself and you think of somebody you love more than anything in the world, and look at them with those eyes, because if we looked at somebody we loved, like our children or sister or mum, that maybe, because my mum isn't here anymore, but you don't look at the photograph and pull them apart. You look at the photograph and say, oh my God, it's beautiful. So the next time you look at your photograph of yourself, look at it in those eyes and just say, oh my God, I look beautiful. And I love myself and I'm delighted I took that, or I've had that taken of me, instead of doing what we always do. And especially now, Irene, with these filters, we've all done it. We've all done the selfies with the softeners and the brightening of the eyes and the brightening of the teeth and changing our colors of our skin. Then you find that the teenagers are used to it, but the teenagers don't criticize themselves like we do, because any young girls, because I've done a lot of headshots for girls going into acting, and the acting profile would be very natural images. They wear very little makeup. They never criticize themselves. It's the older women that are looking at giving out about themselves all the time. But a lot of women right now are using filters. And then when they see a photograph, initially there's no massive filters on it. So they're looking and thinking, oh my God, is that what I look like? And it takes a second to take that in.
Yeah.
And then, you know, it's perfect. You look perfect.
Yeah. And
you look perfect. You look perfect right now. And that's where you are in your life. Yes, maybe you've put on a bit of weight. And Sharon talked about that last week.
Yeah.
You know, when we're getting dressed up, she's very good for talking about that as well.
Yeah, and it is, and it's so, and I love that message, because it's like, you know, if you accept yourself, like sometimes you do need to be seen, as I said to you as well. You know, we put things off, and then when you get that opportunity, like, thank God, you know, it was lovely, and now since I've gone off and got my branding photos taken with you, but for like, you've a unique gift in what you can see, you know. So I was just, you know, I was even saying to Keith before we came on, like, there was a picture you took, you know, and I was kind of, and when you showed, like, I had my perception of it, and then when you showed it to me on your screen, it was a completely different perception. And I think it's a lovely thing to, like, to have reflected back to you what people, or what you actually look like, and who you are, or what you
and what you look like through somebody else's eyes as well.
Yes, that
because
you go see, you go, as you said, directly to the falls. Like, even, you know, before you came up, you know, you say your makeup's lovely and your hair is lovely, you know. And I was looking at my face, and like, I have changed, you know. I have lines now where I didn't have lines, and I'm much more softer. I notice the critical voice that comes in. It's like, oh my God. And then I'm just so, and I'm like, that's normal, it's natural. But it's just, it was just such a lovely thing for to see how you perceived me. And it was a bigger, like, it was a bigger picture. It was more than just a photo.
Well, I saw you, we met each other for the first time maybe end of summer last year, I think. But I had seen you, we met at Moira did a talk in Tralee one night in Ballygarry, I think.
Yes.
And I'd seen you across the room, and I knew you were a QC practitioner, and I knew you were local, so we said hi. But when I met you then last year, you were wearing green, actually, and I said, oh my God, she's beautiful in the green and everything else. And I find that now when I look at women, I'm straight away finding such different levels of beauty, and as they change with age, and I straight away will go for the eyes or look at something that's so different about them. And I saw a side to you that, which I think came out when we did the hat photographs, the I don't know, the flirty side, let's say, for instance, of the Irene that not everybody might see all the time, and the young Irene that, you know, you're a mum now and you're grown up and everything else, but the 18-year-old Irene, I think, came out a little bit on the branding shoot as well, actually. And when you sit with somebody in the studio, when it's just me and them and my camera, I see everything. I see they can't hide behind the makeup. They can't hide behind the shoes or the fancy bag or whatever it is that they've been using. I found for me, actually, when I shaved my hair after, when I started chemo, my hair started falling out, it was an unbelievable lesson, because I had hidden behind my hair. Anytime I put on weight or anything, I used my hair as a confidence booster. And I think a lot of women do that. When your hair is shaven off your head, you can't hide from anything. and you literally have to face the world. And I decided not to wear a wig. Number one, because I didn't fancy a wig, but I just think this is it, this is me, you know. And when you're sitting in front of the camera and there's a camera right up to your face, there's no hiding. And I see everything, and I see after about, I'd say it takes a good hour into the photo shoot, we break that ceiling that we talked about, and they're loving it. And you just, then that's when the magic happens, because they finally let everything go and they say, you know what, let's just go with it. And I know then at that particular moment that that's it, that's the shot, and that's as healing for me as it is for them.
Yeah, and I love that.
I know we got there.
Yeah, the time just, you know, because it's that lovely, and then you're like, it's done, that's it, I got it. And you're like, what? It just flies. It really, really does. And I'm laughing because Regina put up a comment. She's like, what? It wasn't your hat? And I know it wasn't. It was Evelyn's hat. And I love that. I actually love that about your studio when I went in. It was so homely. And like you had a few props and things, and it was just, because, you know, I suppose when you're on your own as well, when you're like, it's a real statement as well, I'm doing this, you know, for me or whatever, and it can be
you're almost honoring yourself.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah. And like what I love, because some of the girls here are QTT practitioners that are on, and like you took Mags's picture.
I can't see the comments, so I'll let you.
Yeah, I have my phone up here, but I was laughing. Regina was on about the hat, but like, you know, it's just, you really capture their beauty, you know, because I've only met Mags, like I've met her online, but I've only met her once. You know, when we were at the retreat, and it was just, she's just a beautiful, beautiful lady, inside and out, and that just shines through her photographs, you know. And we were saying, like, a picture paints 1,000 words. It really, really does. And I think there's nothing more striking than a woman, you know, even Olivia as well, if she's not on as well, you know, the two girls that you've recently photographed, and even other ladies that I've been now exposed to through you. It's just for them, just nothing, no fandad, it's just them. And it's just so empowering. It's like unconsciously giving other people permission. It's like, I'm okay as I am, you know, there's only one of me, you know, I'll never get this moment back again. You know, there must be some divine plan to who I am and what I'm about. And it's owning that, you know. So I just think there's so much more to the photograph that, you know, even Mags, she's shared one or two more, and they're just so striking. Like, you are just really brought into the picture. It's just amazing what you do. It really, really is.
And also, Irene, I tend to shoot, my focus is obviously the eyes, you know, everything is in the eyes. And I did a shoot for a lady who's launching an amazing album soon, which I can't share the images yet because she's holding off. But it was more of a glamour style shoot, because she was looking for cover images for the album. But she brought these beautiful shoes and all of this, and I, you know, maybe I've shown the shoes in one of the photographs, because we had the conversation about it, and I said to her, no one's going to be looking at your shoes. They're here to hear you singing and to see you. And her favorite image is literally from the shoulders up, because that's all. If you think about the classic portraits that we've seen over the years, it's always just the face and the headshot. The black and whites of you know, all the beautiful actresses that we were seeing. It's very rare you'll see the shoes, or it's about here. This is what people connect with. Whether you need a branding headshot or whether you need a beautiful portrait, the eyes give it away in every photograph. I think people see into you. I mean, as they say, you know, the eyes are the secret of the soul, or whatever. It's very much a case of connecting with the eyes.
It is, and I would be big into that as well, because my sister's on here as well, and we would have always had this joke in our family that she speaks with her eyes, and she really does. You know,
and so do I. Yeah,
you know, whether she's happy, peed off, nothing, she can't hide it, and I'm a little bit like that as well. And even, you know, with COVID and everything, you know, I've noticed it, you know, because I have to wear my mask when I'm seeing clients one-to-one, you know, and it's the only thing you can see. And like the release, you know, you know, when somebody comes to a QTT or even an energy alignment session, their eyes, I've often said it to some of them, like they just change in their eyes. They're just so much more bright, and they just they're shining. It's just unbelievable. To even see that, and but I laugh because, you know, she's on here, but she like you always know she gives.
You can't hide with the eyes. And I guess from the QTT side, Irene, as well, because when I trained in QTT with obviously like you have, I was thinking, why am I doing QTT? Where is this taking me? But I've utilized it so much in the studio environment now with women, and I find the consultation part of the shoot is almost as important as the shoot itself, because you find out so much more about somebody when you find out why now, why are you booking this portrait at this particular time, and there's always a reason why. So it's just paring down and peeling back the layers of what do they need this for right now in their lives. And also it's generally just they've had a massive realization about something, or they're looking for you to make them feel healed in some way. So the QTT has helped me in that you're always going to get to their reason.
Wow.
You find out, you just know. And they mightn't even know it until they're sitting in the studio, or even in a branding session. A branding session can be used, obviously, you know, to promote your business and everything else. But it's no different to any of the photo shoots, because at the end of the day, you're with me for 4 hours, and they're ready to step out, show off themselves, and show their businesses. And there's as much power in that as there is in any portrait. So the branding might be your way of saying, okay, I'm ready for this in any form.
Yeah.
You know, you've done it.
Totally. And I loved, you know, because, you know, before I was brushing the floor, always these things come to me, you know, I was saying this morning, and it's a quote that really stuck with me. And it's popped into my head this morning, and Oprah says it, and it's so true. She said, of all the thousands and thousands of people she's interviewed, had on her show and had on her TV channel, you know, all of us want to be seen and heard, truly, as in the real, genuine, that aspect of us. But sometimes we hide it away, and we know through QTT and things like using simple tools and techniques to uncover that and unearth that, and we know the reason, you know, a lot of the time why we do it. But it's such a beautiful thing. I think you do it so beautifully through photography, through your art of taking photographs, for them to be really seen, and for them to actually to get that reflection back of, oh my God, this is who I really am, or this is how, as you said, how other people perceive me. And I think that's priceless. And I think it's something in the Willow Circle as well. I'm so glad that I didn't know why I was so called to do this, but I think it's showcasing that every single person that's on here now, every single person, we all have a story to tell. We all have a mark to leave in the world. We all have something that no one else can do. Like, it's like Cinderella and the shoes, you know. And I can see it so much with women. It could be being a mom, or being a good, you know, or being, you know, a good communicator, or a storyteller, or a photographer. Like, that you've really, like, I've seen such a change in you, that you've really kind of, you're so confident, and it's such a beautiful self-assurance. It's such an ease, I think. And even one of the girls that you branded photographs a while ago, I was talking to her as well, and the shift in her as well, it's like being so confident in yourself, and just trusting and knowing that I am good enough. You know, I'm here for a reason. This is who I am. You know, all of me is relevant, you know, every part of you. And like, even from you sharing your story as well about, you know, breast cancer, like, that you even acknowledged all of that there's, like, this has kind of brought you on and led you to the type of photographer you are now. And I think that's just amazing. I think it's a big message I really want to get through, is that everybody deserves to be seen and heard, everybody, and that everybody has a message. Everyone, we all do. And I think what's opened me up to QTT is the amazing ladies that I have met, and men, of course, you know, a few men as well on the course. But that, and even it's shifted me, you know, because a few years ago, you know, when I was going through whatever I was going through, and kind of think, oh, there must be more to life. Is this it? Is this it? Is this all I'm, you know? And just that the doors naturally opened, and the people that have come into my life are just fabulous, you know, really, really are. And we had this conversation. Every time I meet you, I just feel so much fuller afterwards. And I think it's a lovely thing to kind of, I was saying, even your environment, to be so aware now of what's filling you up, or what's draining you. And I had a conversation with one of my friends as well this morning, and earlier on today, and she was saying the same thing, that, you know, we all deserve to be seen, heard, and understood. And equally, we all deserve to do things that light us up. And, you know, getting my pictures taken was just such a fabulous thing, and I can't wait to see them. And just to, like, it's nearly like recreating it. And like, even there was moments in time going, you know, I was laughing, I was telling you, were like, oh, Irene, you're doing great, whatever. And I was actually in that lovely energy, as you were saying. You know, we have a thing in QTT called mini means, and we have these all little mini aspects of our personality. And I suppose being a nurse and being a mom, sometimes I'm stuck in serious mode, but you definitely tapped into that kind of, as you said, the kind of that 18-year-old, because I suppose I was a mom when I was young.
But even the change of outfit did that to you.
Yeah.
And when we changed it up a little bit, you changed, because it was a little bit maybe something you wouldn't normally wear, or that's kind of like a pattern interrupt.
Yes.
Isn't it? As we do. So it's just that. And also what I find sometimes, Irene, with the branding is, obviously you're watching a woman step out in her business and grow her business, and obviously I'm doing the same. So I'm hugely connected to that, and I feel their pain. I know how hard it is to step out into the light, and sometimes I'm watching their social media, because I would obviously be very keen to see how they're using their images, and we would talk about how they use their images. And sometimes I'd take a photograph and I'd say, well, you could show this and you could talk about that, and they'd say, oh my God, yeah. But I found one or two of the ladies haven't started using their images, and I was actually on with the girl today. We did a little follow up with her, because she's not using her images, and she's still not there yet. She's still not ready to put herself out there so much. So we had a bit of a conversation and maybe a little bit of a release around that.
Wow.
And you still need to guide them and hold their hand a little bit further and say, okay, now you've done the shoot, you have to show the shoot. You know, there's no point in having the beautiful images for your business and your branding and not showing them to anybody. So that's another little step that some people need a little bit more help with, because social media, I mean, if you think about a lot of my clients, which are, as I say, mostly just over 40, social media could be very new to them. You know, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, whatever they're using, LinkedIn. And it's hard to be the normal Irene or Ev on their personal pages and chatting away with whoever we feel comfortable. But when you change your name to, I don't know, Evelyn Woodard, portrait photographer, it's like, oh, okay, now you're a professional and you're a businesswoman, which people, a lot of women find themselves hard to call themselves a businesswoman. I found it really hard to to call myself a portrait professional photographer for a very long time. And I make a habit of introducing myself now as a professional photographer, just to get that flow in my head.
And get it.
Because it's very different to be seen as a businesswoman and to put yourself out there with your business or your photographs or your new website. You're really exposing yourself. And I think women need that help right now, because in 15 years of taking photographs, I've yet to come across a man that takes photographs that's not afraid to show his work or afraid, where it took me a long time to get there. So when a woman comes to me and says, probably the most common question I get asked right now is, what's branding? What's this branding crack, or what's this about? Because it's very new. It's a very new term in Ireland. And then you go to the whole conversation and they're like, oh, no, I'm not ready for that. And then you kind of say, well, actually, if you need to move your business on, you need to be ready for that. And then we do a questionnaire around it. But it's very new concept for women, I think, putting their face to their business. Yeah, and especially on social media, because you're thinking, everybody knows me, so your local market is one market where you could have everybody within your hometown seeing, oh God, what's Irene doing now? This is a new thing. She's the Willow Circle, or other people might know you as Nurse Irene. And then you have your more, so if you go in another layer, you have your clients outside of Killarney, for instance, who see you as just the businesswoman Irene, and then it goes further and further. So you have to kind of get comfortable with the local people knowing you and pushing your business to getting more nationwide. And I think women in Ireland are doing that now.
Which is brilliant. And use it as a gift, you know, rather than say,
And thanks to social media, we couldn't do it otherwise.
Yeah.
So we have to embrace that as well, because it's hard to put yourself out there.
It is. And you know, because we'll wrap it up in a few minutes now, because we're on half an hour. But I loved what you said, you know, what you offer women, and it's such a beautiful thing. Like your forte is women over 40s, but you know, you just want to offer people women who are ready for a beautiful experience, and it really, really is such a beautiful experience. It is. I brought over my photographs. I'll be brave enough and show them. But that one that you took.
When you saw that photograph, you said, "This is me."
Yes.
That was the first thing you said.
Yeah. And it's do you know what's lovely is I'll probably be giving the game away now, but you know, I never I don't have any photograph of me on my own, you know, because I was actually pregnant when I did my finals in nursing. I'm being very and I never got I don't know where it is, or I don't have a professional picture, I don't have one at home, and so I'm so glad I have two. So hopefully my parents will be watching. But you know, it's going to be a lovely gift to be able to give, you know, someone else. So just it is, because I remember when because you showed them to me and they were so beautifully wrapped. I remember opening them up and like you do kind of like, oh my god, that's it. You kind of, for a minute, it's like you're like disassociated for all the world. You're looking at somebody else until you kind of, because you really are seeing an aspect of you that, because you're in you don't see it, if that makes sense. And it's just,
and yet we go around every day trying to decorate our homes and buy pieces of art for the wall. So why shouldn't you be the piece of art that goes up on the wall? You know?
Yeah, that is so true. And it's such, you know, and like the power of that even had, because I have two girls, and for them to see that their mom has a photograph, to not want to be yet to be put up on the wall, but they're there, you know, and to have that, like, you know, because we all know, you know, any of the QTT ladies are in it, but even more so now it's mainstream, that the power of the subconscious and the power of what you surround yourself with, because you're taking it in all the time. And for that message, for Jenna at 5 and even Kate at 19, to have that it's okay for women to have pictures of themselves, just of themselves. And I think it's such a beautiful message. And it really hit me this morning, you know, with Jenna, kind of, you know, when you just pause. And when we were saying that, like, if anything, COVID has really taught me, because this week has been, even though it's been okay, there's been moments where I've really dipped and up again, and it's being present and coming back into now as much as I can has really been anchoring to me. And even this morning, just when Jenny came in and I was trying to sort the IT and calling in all the IT fairies, but for her to sit in my lap and just, you know, play around with it, and I was like, oh my god, she's learning this, you know, because she's just surrounded by it and with pictures and things like that. So I think it's a great, sometimes if you're not able to do it for yourself, sometimes as women, it's like a gentle nudge to kind of, you know, that we really are, what we do and how we treat ourselves, it's being absorbed unconsciously by people around us. And I think that's a really powerful message, you know, and it's a lovely empowering message that, you know, my kids, you know, as you said, it's a real American thing, isn't it, you know, for American women to kind of get their photographs taken, but particularly with Irish women, I think it's a big thing. And it was a big thing for me to even say that I was getting my branding photographs, saying it to Mike, you know, it was, and he was, and how did it go, you know, whereas I kind of was a little bit unique about it, but like, I'm so glad I was able to have that conversation and say, no, it's really important, you know, because, you know, I want women to come to me, you know, to be more empowered and to feel better about themselves and to feel more authentic and more genuine and real, and realize you're perfect as you are, you know, and you really have such a beautiful message to give the world, that it's important that I walk my talk as well, you know.
Same. I'm the same. I put up a post on my Instagram stories yesterday. I think it was yesterday, a photograph of me that I had taken during the first lockdown, but I hadn't put it up because I didn't like it. So I need to practice what I preach as well. And like you said to me earlier, what was my message of the night? My message is to stop putting things off. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, and I love this. Just before we finish, just because, you know, you were saying this time last year, you know, you were sharing, like, I've seen such a transformation. So this time last year, it was October and it was Breast Awareness Month. And you have that lovely picture. They can't see it, but if you move a little bit, but that lovely picture.
My girls.
Yeah, of the girls. It was such a beautiful thing. I think it was so, like, and that's what I mean. There was no words needed. It was just such a, like, for them to be seen and exactly where they were. I thought it was just such a powerful, I don't know them personally, but I thought it was such a powerful message to all women. You know, I really, really thought it was, because, you know, there's so much taboo, like, I don't know, because I haven't gone through it, but there is a lot of, you know, the unknown around breast cancer and around cancer, and for them just to, I just thought it was just the most beautiful thing. I really, really did.
And I suppose, Irene, you know, when you associate any kind of awareness, from what I'm aware of in Ireland, with breast cancer. It's pink ribbons, it's pink t-shirts, it's pink runs, it's pink everything's. And I never attached to any of those because I didn't do that form of healing. So I kind of always feel I can't attach myself to a charity that is doing research for something that I refuse to do. So my way of working with, I suppose my form of charity for the breast cancer was that shoot. But that photograph of the girls, of Helena and Mandy, is going to give you way more awareness than any pink t-shirt, because you're seeing their scars. And I remember Helena, both of them were really keen for me to share the image because I said, "Are you okay with sharing it?" And I remember Helena ringing me that day saying her dad and her brother, I hope she doesn't mind me saying this now, kind of went, "Oh my gosh," because not everybody sees the scar, or not everybody realizes what's the aftermath of what you've been through. And a pink t-shirt just kind of hides that a little bit as far as I'm concerned. So that's kind of where that image came from, I think, more than anywhere. But also there's power in that image because they are seen for who they are right now and they're proud of it.
Huge power. And I suppose it shows that there's so much you can I was just absolutely blown away by it. I was just like, there was no need for work.
Yeah, it had a massive knock-on ripple effect. That image was shared with so many women. It had such an impact with so many women. It made a big difference to a lot of those women on the journey at the time. And the girls got a lot of media and were doing a lot of talking about cancer. So it achieved what we wanted it to achieve.
Yeah, which is lovely. And it was like, I think it gave people probably permission to talk about things that they probably weren't, as you said, ready to or were afraid of bringing up, whereas it was just nearly a natural thing then to be able to speak about it because it was put out there. And I thought it was just so beautiful. So it's been my absolute pleasure, Evelyn. Is there any final, I suppose what I've really taken away from it is like, don't put things off. And I love that whole thing about photographs, look at it the next time you have a photograph in your hand, to look at it like somebody that you love. And I thought that was such a beautiful thing.
And stop being invisible. Women have to stop being invisible, I think. And I'm in the middle of changing my website around, and that's one of my messages that,
Yeah, and I would just, say to anyone that's thinking of doing it, it's the most beautiful thing you could do. Because, there's like, even it's just like, it's a moment in time, and it's such a lovely reflection to be given back to you, and for anyone that's thinking of it, like, I'm so excited, can't wait to see my branding pictures, because you took shots that I'd never have seen, and even the ones you showed me, I was like, oh my god, what you captured. Like, I loved that because you're like, oh, I mean, that'll be lovely for if you wanted to speak about, because I know you're big into self-care, that you like, I totally trusted in you anyway, number one, but number two, you actually exceeded my expectations in such a lovely way, because when I kind of sat that down and reflected, and I was like, oh my god, she got so much that I had probably thought, wouldn't that be nice, or maybe I would have had an idea, but I'm so excited because you captured me really, and it's actually, I suppose I never said this, but I'm saying that you really got me, and you really get me. So you can see that really side of me that I absolutely love nature, love. But there's also that side of me that I love my coffees, and I love clothes, and I love that. And it was so fabulous. And without me saying it to you, you were like, Irene, and you caught those, you captured those two aspects of me.
Well, we all have so many different sides to us, and it's okay to show them all.
Yeah. Love it. Yeah. So I'm looking at any of the comments there. They've been absolutely fabulous. I'm laughing at Regina.
Thank God I can't see the live. Thank God it's on recorded from my side.
She'll be down anyway for her 65th wedding after lockdown.
I'm looking forward to it.
The hat will be there for you, so I want a picture of you in the hat. And just love, they're all just saying thanks so much. They're all saying just lovely, just they've really enjoyed it. And I've been absolutely, I was trusting in this, and saying, look, what will come out, but I really, I suppose, want to give you credit, for sharing your story, because it can be very vulnerable being so personal, but I think I'm sure a lot of women will gain great comfort from your story, and how well you've done. Really, I'm glad you're one of my, I guess I can call it one of my friends, and I'm glad through QTT and how it would be that even though we're living in the same town now, that that we've come into contact and we're connected. So thank you so much for sharing your thank you for sharing your Friday evening.
Thanks to everybody for watching.
Yeah, and thanks to all the girls that put up lovely comments.